From a man who never leaves, he just goes into remission. This is the Daniel Natal Show. In ancient Sumeria, the word for freedom was amagi, and it translates as freedom from debt. It is the exemption from debts or obligations and the restoration of persons and property to their original status, including the remission of debts. So if you're in debt, you're not free. You're working for someone else. Hence, your labor is not your own, just like a slave. I was reading to my son from Fernanda Pires' book, Rule of Laws, and she makes an interesting observation about certain historical patterns. Whenever a great leader arose, he started by freeing the people, by establishing laws against usury, and issuing debt amnesties. Ornamu did it in the Akkadian Empire. The great lawgiver Hammurabi did it in the Babylonian Empire. Solon the Great did it in Athens, and so forth. Listen here.
The cities grew, professions became more specialist, and without systems of redistribution, the poor, who fell on hard times, had to borrow grain or food. Patterns of debt and credit developed, which allowed the wealthy to seize the property of the impoverished. It was these practices that had created the gap between rich and poor, which the king of Lagash claimed to redress. Practically all the new rulers used debt amnesties to try to redress the imbalances, and prophets of the gods even issued direct instructions to the kings to act justly whenever someone appealed to them for judgment. By making laws, Ur-Nama was promising that anyone wrongly imprisoned or thrown into debt bondage should get relief. It was the beginning, indeed, of the rule of law. Hammurabi saw himself as a ruler in the Mesopotamian tradition. In the prologue to his laws, he presents himself as a divinely inspired ruler whose military successes were due to the favor of the gods. He describes himself as benevolent, providing for his people and guaranteeing them justice. In fact, he had already ordered several debt amnesties, concerned, like his predecessors, to rebalance destabilizing inequalities. Around the turn of the 7th and 6th centuries, there was unrest in the city of Athens, and during a popular revolt against tyranny, the citizens asked for a set of laws that would protect them against future tyrants. But the laws, created by Draco, an Athenian legislator, seem to have been harsh, failing to resolve tensions between rich and poor. This prompted a popular leader, Solon, to promise a better constitution. He ordered a debt cancellation, repealed almost all of Draco's laws, and replaced them with a new set, which promised to relieve agricultural poverty and address debt.
These leaders banished usury, freed their people, and the economy flourished. Why? Excessive debt draws money away from the productive economy and redirects it toward the financial economy. In other words, if you're too busy paying off debt, you suffer the opportunity cost of being able to hire more workers, purchase new industrial equipment, fund a new facility, etc. All that money is sucked into the black hole of the financial sector, which is non-productive. An issue that economist Carlota Perez discusses in Technological Revolutions in Financial Capital. We're currently in a war between productive capital and financial capital, and so far, financial capital is winning. It's sucking all the wealth out of the system, and growth is starting to collapse. The problem is that our entire financial system is based on pseudoscience. This was the conclusion of Frederick Soddy, a chemist who won the Nobel Prize in 1917 for discovering nuclear isotopes. After retiring from science, he turned his attention toward economics and wrote a fascinating book called Wealth, Virtual Wealth, and Debt. In it, he noted that while wealth is subject to the laws of entropy, debt is not. Real wealth is not money, of course. Money is just a unit of exchange to obtain wealth. Real wealth is stuff like wheat, shoes, houses, and so forth. Soddy pointed out that these things rot away. Compound interest, by contrast, keeps accruing until the end of the universe. Debt is not subject to the laws of entropy. It just keeps on going and going and going. As a result, we have a two-tier system, an incompatible hodgepodge. If wealth is subject to the laws of entropy, argued Soddy, then so should debt be. This is why ancient Israel had a jubilee every 50 years to wipe out debt and to reset the society. Most civilizations had something similar. In the modern age, people have been begging the financial oligarchs to stop the practices which are leading to gross inequalities and causing social destabilization. But debt, they found, was too useful a tool for controlling nations. The problem, though, is that ultimately it collapses the whole system as productivity craters, supply chains buckle, factories close, unemployment increases. All the ingredients for revolution manifest. In the recent climate change conference, COP27 in Egypt, the globalists embarked on creating a new debt system to siphon out more wealth, saying that the West had to pay for climate crimes caused by the Industrial Revolution. In other words, factories that represent productivity are evil. Productivity is bad. Only debt is good. And they enacted global accords, which would act as a new Treaty of Versailles, which would strap the West with crushing debt. Where did the first Treaty of Versailles lead? Those who study history have no doubt as to what comes next. The New American Magazine is now on Locals. It's a for-pay platform for like $5. It gives you access to extra content and allows you to support your favorite hosts. As I said before, think of it like throwing some coins into the cup of a street performer. Check it out at thenewamerican.locals.com.